Ethan Parker had always been the kind of person who quietly noticed everything. He wasn't the loudest in the room or the one who demanded attention, but somehow, people felt comfortable around him. He lived in a small apartment in Boston, where the streets were lined with old brick buildings and cafes that smelled of fresh coffee and baked bread. On one particularly chilly October morning, as golden leaves swirled down the sidewalks, he found himself standing outside a small bookstore called the Maple Leaf Books, his favorite place in the city. It wasn't just the books that drew him in. It was the calm, the quiet hum of people flipping through pages, the faint smell of paper and ink, the soft music playing in the background. That day, as Ethan pushed open the door, the little bell above chimed gently, announcing his arrival, and he noticed a girl rearranging the new arrivals on a wooden shelf near the window. She had brown hair that fell in loose waves, glasses that slightly slid down her nose, and a warm smile that seemed to light up the entire corner of the store. Her name was Lily Bennett, and she had recently moved to Boston from a smaller town in Vermont, chasing her dream of working with books and eventually opening her own little library cafe. Ethan had seen her a few times before, but today, something made him pause. Maybe it was the way she carefully placed each book, or how she hummed softly to herself, oblivious to the world around her. He walked over, pretending to browse through a shelf of novels, but he couldn't help sneaking glances at her. "Hi," he said finally, his voice breaking the soft hum of the store. Lily looked up, slightly startled, then smiled warmly. "Oh, hi. You're Ethan, right? From the coffee shop across the street?" she asked. Ethan nodded, a little surprised that she remembered. "Yeah, that's me. I see you here often. Thought I'd finally say hello." She laughed, a soft, musical sound that made him feel at ease. "I'm glad you did," she replied. "It's nice to meet someone who appreciates quiet places as much as I do." And from that small exchange, a friendship began to grow. Over the next few weeks, Ethan found himself visiting the bookstore more often than he had intended, always finding a reason to linger a little longer just to talk to Lily. They discussed books, music, and their little dreams, sharing laughter and stories that made the hours slip away unnoticed. Ethan admired how dedicated she was, how she cared for every detail, from arranging the shelves to helping customers find the right book. He also noticed that despite her friendly demeanor, there was a quiet sadness in her eyes at times, as if something from her past weighed on her heart. One rainy afternoon, while Boston was wrapped in a soft drizzle, Ethan saw Lily standing outside the bookstore, drenched and shivering slightly. Without thinking, he ran out with his jacket and offered it to her. "Here, take this. You'll catch a cold," he said gently. She hesitated but finally accepted, pulling it around her shoulders. "Thanks, Ethan. You always seem to care, even when it's not necessary," she said with a small smile. That moment lingered in his mind, the way she looked at him with gratitude and something unspoken. From then on, Ethan realized that caring for Lily had become more than just a friendly gesture. It was something deeper. He wanted to protect her happiness, to see her smile every day. But life, as it often does, had its own plans. One evening, Lily confided in him that she had received a job offer from a publishing company in New York. It was her dream job, something she had worked for years to achieve. But it meant leaving Boston and everything she had started there, including the bookstore and Ethan. Ethan felt a pang in his heart, though he tried not to show it. "That's amazing, Lily," he said, forcing a smile. "You should go. You've worked so hard for this." She looked down, twisting her fingers nervously. "I know, but I'll miss everything here. And I'll miss you," she admitted softly. Ethan's chest tightened. He wanted to tell her how he felt, how much he cared, but the words stuck in his throat. "You'll do great," he said finally. "And we'll always keep in touch, right?" Lily nodded, but Ethan could see the sadness in her eyes mirrored his own. The days leading up to her departure were bittersweet. They spent every possible moment together, walking along the Charles River, sharing coffee at the little cafe across the street, laughing over inside jokes that no one else would understand. On her last night in Boston, Ethan took her to the bookstore one last time. The rain had stopped, leaving the city sparkling under the soft glow of streetlights. They stood in front of the entrance, the little bell chiming faintly as they entered. "I wish things could stay like this forever," Lily whispered. Ethan took a deep breath, gathering all his courage. "Lily, I care about you. More than I probably should. More than I've ever cared about anyone. I want to be there for you, to support you no matter what." She looked at him, tears glistening in her eyes. "Ethan, I care about you too," she said softly. They smiled at each other, a quiet understanding passing between them. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't loud, but it was real. They spent the rest of the evening talking, promising to stay in each other's lives, to continue caring for one another even if distance separated them. Months passed. Lily thrived in New York, loving her new job and the bustling city life. Ethan continued his work at the cafe, occasionally visiting the bookstore and meeting new faces, but always keeping a space in his heart reserved for her. They spoke often, sending messages, calling whenever they could, and Ethan would listen intently as she shared her triumphs and small joys, always offering his support. Then, one chilly spring morning, Lily surprised him by showing up at the cafe, her suitcase in tow, a bright smile on her face. "Boston feels like home again," she said, hugging him tightly. Ethan felt a rush of happiness, a warmth spreading through his chest. "And it's good to have you back," he replied. They walked through the city together, revisiting old places, sharing stories, and making new memories. Slowly, their friendship blossomed into something deeper, a love built on care, understanding, and shared dreams. They never rushed, never forced anything, but every moment together felt meaningful. And as the sun set over Boston, casting a golden glow over the city they both loved, Ethan realized something that had been true all along. Caring for someone, truly caring, could grow into the most beautiful love. A love that was patient, kind, and enduring. A love that promised, no matter the distance or the challenges, they would always be there for each other. And so, Ethan and Lily continued their journey together, side by side, in a city filled with stories, laughter, and the quiet magic of always caring for someone who mattered most.